everybody. My name is Lina Flor. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Senior Policy and Campaigns Organizer at the Immigrant Defense Project, the founder of the Shungshuya Collective, which is an Indigenous-led collective fighting for the rights of Indigenous immigrants who have been forcibly displaced from their homelands and now find themselves here in the US, particularly in the Chicago region, and also the former policy director at Migrant Roots Media. And so first, I want to say a huge congratulations to Roxana and the Migrant Roots team for the 5-year anniversary. I think we can all agree that Migrant Roots has had such an incredible impact in our community, uplifting and centering the voices and also honoring the voices of members of our community who've been directly impacted by a lot of those systems of violence that have been inflicted upon our communities, especially during a time where, traditional media didn't care and actively ignored a lot of our voices. And so I just want to say thank you so much, Roxana, for creating this space because I think it's incredibly important. And so to give you all some more context, Roxana and I met a little over 2 years ago when she came across one of the poems that I had written about my own family's displacement. I am Quichua Cañari, an Indigenous peoples of Ecuador. And unfortunately, back in the 90s, my family was forcefully displaced from their homelands when the oil and mining companies were coming into native territories in Ecuador and killing a lot of indigenous leaders and indigenous communities as a way to solidify their power and hold on our territories. And so unfortunately, this was very much enabled by the Ecuadorian government as they continue to try to push private investments as a means to uplift and bring Ecuadorian citizens out of poverty. And so again, we hear these very harmful narratives and like policies and quote unquote solutions being pushed down our community's throats when we know that they are at the center of the reason why a lot of our communities have been suffering. And so in kind of my small history with Migrant Roots Media, at the same time, the Biden and Harris administration had been releasing their Central America plan to combat what they called the migration crisis. And once again, we see a repeat of history as they continue to use very criminalized language that, we're supposed to, one of the solutions was, increasing the rule of law, more nonprofit and private investment in the region as a way to kind of get people out of poverty, when we know firsthand that these neoliberal policies have been the reasons why a lot of these communities have been suffering from poverty. And so one of the things that we try to do with the report is really bring to light the fact that poverty, economic insecurity, violence is just a symptom of a greater issue, which is capitalism, neoliberalism, and the history of U.S. intervention in the region. And so one of the things that we try to prioritize as well is making this report accessible and digestible for members of our community, because as we think about solutions and try to organize against these policies and these narratives, we have to be able to figure out like what we're up against. And so I think it's really important at the end of the report, where we had a small section where we talked about solutions, that we really emphasize the importance and value of directly impacted people being at the forefront of these solutions. We are the experts in our own communities, and so there's nobody better to really be able to address the reasons why, the solutions and reasons why this is occurring. And so, I think that I'm very appreciative of the way that the report was written. And I think if anything, it's probably more relevant now as we kind of come into the end of the Biden-Harris administration and into an election season, about what we're going to do as a community to really organize and fight against these narratives, fight against the history of U.S. intervention in these regions that continue to criminalize, deport, detain, and create violence against our communities. And so yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And again, I just want to say thank you so much to Roxana and the rest of the team. I hope that there are many more reports to come and that you all in this room continue to tell your own stories. I know it's had such an amazing impact in my journey and my family's journey, not necessarily only just like recounting our stories, but also just like leading us down a road of healing. And so Yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the evening. Goodbye, y'all. Hugs from Chicago.